My first attempt. Now I'll tell you who and what exactly this is all about. It's about me, Valentin, now 28 years young, if you can still say that. Since 30 is already around the corner. Unfortunately, I didn't spend my entire 20s on the road like most young adults do and experience the future and career as I walk towards it, in order to be able to build up a perspective for life and survival and for the most part carefree. I'm aware that everyone has to carry their own baggage, but for me it is unfortunately not just one package, but a whole Euro pallet with thousands of returns. At some point it's just too much and a person cannot always bear more and more. At some point, it's over and you no longer have the strength to constantly fight windmills. I mean, how much can a person bear? In any case, I have now reached the point where I ask you for help or that you fight with me. I had a normal childhood and youth with a carefree life, at least as far as illness, pain and suffering are concerned, full of plans for the future and with the feeling in my back pocket that I can do everything and that I was born/called to great things. And then suddenly everything came completely differently, completely unexpectedly. In 2013, after passing my middle tires, I went off to New Zealand with my then 3 best friends for a year abroad, work and travel, and to show the Kiwis how to potty properly, joking aside. Until there, everything went quite normal. We had a wonderful and unforgettable time there, which will remain unforgettable forever, even more because of the incident, like a deep scar. I like to remember the time back even if it hurts. Then, after about 7-8 months, I went back to Germany full of verve, zest for action, willpower, and a good pinch of self-confidence. As already mentioned, I thought now my time has come and I stopped becoming something big either with a well-paid job or to the later possible self-employment. I had made a real plan shortly before we flew back home from abroad that I would now catch up on my specialized baccalaureate, so that I could also study like my friends at the time, and I would not be left behind. There I was, freshly minted 19 years young with one goal, success. But before that, I had to go back to the industrial shifts to pay off the debts I had accumulated in New Zealand. I then noticed a bump under my right arm that was oddly painful. When I was at home, after the jungle time in New Zealand, I finally wanted to take a really nice shower and get ready. I slightly cut myself while shaving under the right arm. It hurt quite a bit, but according to my memory it didn't bleed. I did not think anything of it and went to work the next day. But then it suddenly hurt a lot under my right arm, but at that point it was not as bad yet according to my memory. However, from day to day a steadily growing and harder lump had formed, which was quite firm and noticeable and hurt a lot when touched directly. And that was the starting signal of my years-long illness odyssey. A new mox get set. And off went the doctor's mistakes. They started with the fact that at first no biopsy was done at all, because they had simply done some unsterile work with a scalpel and a supposed abscess, cut open without being sure what it was at all, and then to still say, I quoted, "Oh, for an abscess there's only little pus coming out." Those were the last moments before I became terminally ill and everything changed in the blink of an eye. From that point on, nothing was supposed to be the same, which unfortunately it was, because the doctors simply whittled away at a highly aggressive and rare ALK-positive non-Hodgkin's lymphoma lymph node cancer. This was until then hardly researched, and it then triggered leukemia and a tumour in the head. Everything was affected, and the wound was left open for weeks. I fought so much and defeated 3 types of cancer, went through endless agonies, took almost every side effect that one can have, from cataracts to shingles and bone death/necrosis, osteonecrosis in all joints except the hip and much more. The bone death necrosis is so bad that it is irreparable and only an artificial joint can perhaps, but only perhaps, provide relief. The doctors already knew or suspected this from the beginning. They just didn't want to tell me, because due to my diagnosis the chances of survival were already very low. It was assumed that if I should survive the disease at all, I would most likely end up in a wheelchair anyway as a full care case who would have to swallow 30 tablets a day. In addition, I was admitted to the Robert Bush Hospital during my illness. There, the doctors wanted to operate out all my affected organs. At that time, I was already down to 56 kg at a height of 1.88 meters anyway, and if I had stayed there, I would not be alive today with 100% certainty, because only a short time later, I almost bled to death from an intestinal perforation due to the fatal wrong therapy. Fortunately, thanks to my lifesaver, Prof. Holger Hebot, MD, I did not. It was also only thanks to him that I was given the very last chance before they tried to remove my organs one by one, and that I survived this infinitely difficult time at all. I'm infinitely grateful to him because I owe him my life. Likewise, the doctors of the oncology of the University Hospital Tübingen, where the stem cell transplantation took place. All this is troubling me not only physically but also psychologically. Both my knees have already been operated on with the help of a bone drilling, in the hope of getting the dead bone supplied with blood again. Unfortunately, only with moderate success. I had painstakingly built up my knees with gentle exercises and a lot of rest over the last 6 years after the surgeries, so that they did not break right through with the slightest strain, and I was able to move reasonably on short distances. I was very proud of this and infinitely grateful. Unfortunately, this was to be denied to me again, because I went on advice to an osteopath/physiotherapist who completely destroyed my knees within 20 minutes at an appointment. He didn't respond in the least to what I had explained to him about my clinical picture. He always knew everything better. Since then I have had to cry a lot from the endless, unbearable pain. As a result, I am not even able to go for a walk with my dog anymore. Thanks to the physiotherapist, the necrosis has progressed again and parts of the joints have splintered off and are now floating around loosely. Because of all these side effects, I have been unable to work since August 2020. Since I was still a student before my illness, I unfortunately had no disability insurance or the likewise. From this I could have profited today. When I then came back in 2014, I fell ill shortly after. A best friend, who was also in New Zealand, we were fell ill 2 years after me and unfortunately died. I'm still in therapy, because I unfortunately already had 2 recurrences in 2015 and 2016, which were also very bad, and the 3rd recurrence supposedly in 2021, shortly after the COVID vaccination. The 2nd COVID vaccination also gave me a thrombosis in the most sensitive part of the man. No urologist that I went to had seen anything like that. Everyone said there is no such thing. Now I soon have my 10-year anniversary. All my former friends have from time to time since the disease first distanced themselves and finally said goodbye. Until now actually no one is there, which of course pulls me down even more, because I can't understand why people don't get in touch from one day to the next and act as if we have never even known each other. Do people actually know what they are doing with this behavior? If nowadays you can't even be there for each other in hard times. Unfortunately, it was the same with my relatives. The almost 10 years have of course not passed my parents without a trace, which is why I would be very happy if I could relieve them a little. Unfortunately, my mother also has many problems, such as rheumatism that has lasted for decades. Unfortunately, we didn't draw the easiest lot, but who does? I'm infinitely happy about every single donation.